This 200-year-old cast iron kettle was passed down to Will Ford from his ancestors, who were slaves. His family used this bowl during prayer meetings to muffle the sounds of their prayers. Well, fast forward to 2005, and this same kettle connected Will Ford with a man named Matt Lockett. Take a look.
Will Ford and Matt Lockett met at a prayer meeting and became good friends. Both had similar callings: to war against social injustice. Yet, they had no idea how deeply their lives and callings were woven together, through history and by the hand of God.
Matt's family owned our family, and I had to wrestle with it.
In their book, The Dream King, they share how God is using their story to bring forgiveness and healing to our divided nation.
It's an incredible story. Please welcome to the 700 Club, Will Ford and Matt Lockett. It's great to have both of you with us.
Honored to be with you.
Well, I enjoyed your book so much. I mean, only God could put together something like this, story. But let's start with the kettle, because what a treasure, Will, to have this. Talk about this kettle and how it was used by your ancestors.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's been my family, passed down. It's probably about 200 years old. It was used by the slaves of my family. They used it for cooking, they used it for washing clothes, but secretly, they used it for prayer. They were owned by a slave master who would literally beat them if he heard them praying, because he did not want them praying for freedom. Because he didn't want them getting kind of hope for freedom. But these folks were Christians, and they decided to pray anyway. So they go into a barn late at night to make sure their prayer meeting wasn't seen. And so they couldn't be heard, they used this pot. They turned it upside down, prop it up with rocks, and then lay flat on the ground and prayed underneath the opening between the ground and the kettle so that the pot muffled their voices as they prayed through the night.
Amazing. It's an honor to touch it, you know?
Yeah.
What a history,
well, it's a memorial stone.
Yeah, it is a memorial
reminder of those
stone.
people who prayed
guess.
like that, yeah.
Well, Matt, God gave you a dream that really connected you to the kettle and to Will. Talk about that.
You know, for me, I had a dream during a low point in my life. I'd lost my father. And one of the things that was really important to me was I wanted to know where my family came from.
Yeah.
And no one in my family ever knew our history. It was all a mystery to us.
You kind of had roadblocks, didn't you, from anybody who tried along the way?
Yeah, the story had broken down, the records were missing, and so we couldn't get past my dad's grandfather.
Wow.
And so we never knew where we came from, but then I was drawn to this prayer gathering at the Lincoln Memorial because I had a dream from God, and I show up, and that was the first place that I ever came together with Will Ford. And that day, he told the story of his ancestors who had prayed, and I was really struck by that because I didn't know my family history, but here was this rich spiritual heritage that Will was talking about, and it just really touched a deep part of me, and I felt very connected to it.
So how did you discover the amazing relationship between your two families, Will? Well,
it was the connection between the Lockets, because this pot comes from the Lockett side of my family, from my father's side of the family. So it was passed down to Harriet Lockett, and then Harriet Lockett passed it on to Noah Lockett, who then passed it on to her son, William Ford Sr., who then passed it on to William Ford Jr., who then gave it to me, William III.
Wow.
Comes from Lake Providence, Louisiana. And so when I was sharing that story, there the day that we met, I was led there too because of a dream that I had about Martin Luther King, which we talk about more in the book. Matt came up to me and he said, "Hey, you know, you said Lockett. I'm actually a Lockett." And so we kind of compared notes, but we didn't make too much of it. We just thought it was so symbolic. Yeah, it was spelled differently.
One with one T and one with yours is two T's.
Yeah,
right?
my family was from Kentucky as far as we knew, and his Lockets were in Louisiana.
Yeah, and then our Lockett spelled it with one T. His Lockett spelled it with two T's at the end. So we thought, but you know, it was a cool enough coincidence to connect us. But it was enough to connect us as friends for about 10 years.
Wow.
Where we've been praying together, doing ministry, doing life. Really, that's what it's all about, right?
So how did you finally make the connection that it was your Lockett family that had owned Will's ancestors as slaves?
That came at a moment where when we made a breakthrough on our genealogy, and we discovered this amazing piece of Virginia history, actually not far from here, where our family had come in as settlers, but then fast forward to the American Civil War, we found out that the last battle of the American Civil War happened at the Battle of Lockett's Farm, right before Lee surrendered on April 9th, 1865. And so we found out that was actually my family. The last battle of the Civil War was in my family's front yard.
Okay, so friends of 10 years.
Yeah. So we thought it was a cool coincidence. I have this artifact from my family, this kettle pot. you know, it was used during that time period to pray for the ending of slavery. And then basically, slavery comes to the end of his family's front yard in this house, Locket's farmhouse, which has a memorial stone in the front that says that. So we thought, what a cool coincidence. But then we stumbled on more research, and then we learned that it was Matt's family that owned our family where this kettle pot came from.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't imagine the feelings that must have stirred up in both of you from different perspectives. Matt, you first. I mean, what a wonderful, rich history story initially to find out about. And then what did you feel when you realized?
Well, once all the bells and whistles wore off, you know, we had to come to terms with the fact that, oh my, like my connection to the story is to that of the slave owner. That was very painful to find out because it wasn't abstract anymore.
Yeah.
We were talking about the pain of an entire community in America, and my connection to it was actually to this man. This now had a face, and it was a face of somebody that I loved.
And a relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And so we kind of look at it this way, that God allowed us to build a 10-year relationship and a friendship before he revealed any of that. And I think that's a key element here is we need each other. We need relationship in order to process this pain.
So, Will, you had to feel something completely different than what Matt did. How did you work through that?
You know, of course, you know, we're in the prayer movement and all the wowie-zowie stuff is going on. But when everything died down, it finally dawned on me, man, Matt's family owned my family, and we had stories of where slaves were beat to death.
Now.
It's real now, and now I have a face connected to that, and it's a face of someone that I love. And now I'm trying to forget how my friend was ever my enemy. So I had to do my own soul searching. I had to forgive even deeper. And we talked about it together, and we did a lot of work separately from each other. But
There's
it's
some
powerful.
laying down of self that has to happen in all of this. Yeah.
But, you know, after that, for about a year after that, guess what we found out? Matt found out another piece of the story, another storyline in his family. And tell them about that real quick.
Yeah, so revival during the Revolutionary War came to Virginia, and I found out that one of my ancestors, a man named Daniel Lockett, became an abolitionist and a Methodist circuit rider, and he actually he carried the gospel to the frontier, but he also preached the setting free of slaves.
Story comes full circle.
Yeah, so you know, we have generational curses in all of our families. We also have generational blessings. They represent these dominating themes and storylines, and that's what God is shouting to America right now. What storyline do we want to be a part of?
Absolutely.
The healing or the hurt, the blessing or the curse. What storyline are we
get to
part
choose.
Of? We get to choose.
Ooh, choose wisely, America.
Yes.
Well, Will and Matt's book is called The Dream King. We are just skimming the surface, but the story is fascinating. It's available wherever books are sold. You can also hear more from Matt and Will on our Facebook page. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/700club. Thank you both. It's just amazing.
Yeah, the thing that's
God.
fascinating to us too is that this happened to two guys, both led by dreams.
Yeah.
To the place where Dr. King said in his I Have a Dream speech, I have a dream that one day the sons of former slaves, the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at the table of brotherhood. So we're thinking maybe the dream speech wasn't poetry, maybe it was prophecy.
Yes. Oh, for certain. Well, thank you so much. Great to have you here again. The Dream King is the name of the book.